Guys, everyone is expected to keep their cameras on. I'm going to stop my presentation so that you can focus on me. Alright, then let's start. Okay, I'm going to quickly go through some movements and you guys have to copy them. Okay, ready? Alright, let's begin. First instruction, blink your eyes. Okay, blink your eyes. Now touch your nose. Everybody touch your nose. Now tap your forehead. Everybody, let's see, tap your forehead. Okay, now touch your mouth. Everybody, touch your mouth. Okay, now thinking action. Okay, everybody do the thinking action. Now hold your ears. Okay, everybody hold your ears. Alright, now smile widely. Everybody smile widely. Now frown very hard. Okay, frown hard. Now clap your hands. Okay, everybody clap your hands. Okay, and now snap your fingers. Everybody snap your fingers. Okay, that's it. So let's see what happened. Were you able to follow instructions? Yeah? Was everyone able to follow instructions? Okay, so let's go ahead to the discussion part. Okay, who would like to describe the activity that we just had? Okay, come on, who would like to share? Just have to describe the activity.
We did different types of actions.
And
Ma'am, you gave some instructions. We just followed it simply.
okay, all right. And next question, were you able to follow instructions properly, like exactly as they were given?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
all right. How many of you were not able to follow instructions properly? Raise your hands. Let's see. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Vignesh, would you like to tell us what happened?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I was not able to follow your instruction because I got distracted in middle of any one of meeting.
Okay. All right. So next question for discussion. Did you make mistakes? Raise your hands if you made mistakes. Did anyone make mistakes?
No, ma'am.
Are you sure? Okay. So let's repeat this activity. Okay, and then we'll come back to this discussion. I'm going to stop my screen and I'm going to give you another set of instructions that you will follow as quickly as you can. Okay. Okay. So one more time, everyone switch on your cameras. Right, let's begin. Okay. I'll be giving you a set of instructions and you follow them as quickly as you can. Alright, ready? Let's begin. Hold your ears. Everybody hold your ears. Okay. Now clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Now blink your eyes. Blink your eyes quickly. Okay. Now frown
Ma'am,
hard. Frown hard.
ma'am,
Snap your fingers. Everybody snap your fingers quickly. And now touch your mouth. And now do the thinking action. And now smile wide. And now touch your nose. And now tap your forehead. Everybody tap your forehead. Okay, there we go. So now let's one more time discuss. Okay, and let's see what happened. Would anyone like to share this second round of the activity? Would anyone like to share?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me.
What happened in the activity? Ma'am, we followed you and we also got confused. We stopped following the instruction. We only watched what you are doing. We stopped listening to our ears.
Okay, and why do you think that happened?
It's more easier, ma'am. The mind works like that. It copies the easier thing.
Very nice. Okay, anyone else? Would
Man, we
anyone?
were watching at you as you were giving the instructions. So when you
Mm-hmm.
told that tab on forehead, but everyone were tapping their nose and all.
Absolutely. All right. So did this thing happen in the first activity also?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Man, the instructions were we had they're slow, so we had the time to analyze what you were saying and do accordingly. But in the second
Okay.
activity, you were saying it fast.
Okay. Anything else?
No, ma'am.
All right. Next question. Um, were you able to follow instructions properly?
In the starting we were, but when you changed your action, we couldn't.
And why do you think that happened?
Because we stopped following the instructions and we started looking at you and following you.
Okay. Is this true for everyone? Did everyone experience that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Um, next question. Did you make mistakes?
Yes.
When and where?
When you started tapping your nose, we also started tapping our nose, but the instructions were that to tap head on the forehead.
Uh-huh. And did this happen the first time also?
Yes.
Okay. How many of you experienced this um in the last instruction when I was asking you to tap your forehead, but I was tapping my nose? Okay. How many of you were still tapping your nose, at least for a second or two longer than the instruction? Okay, raise your hands. Let's see. Come on, guys, raise your hands if you made a mistake on the last instruction. Okay, thank you, Arshalakshmi. Anyone else? Okay. What about the others? I did see people falter a bit. Like, for a second there was a confusion and people were still tapping noses, and then when I said it the second time, and then that's when we shifted to tapping foreheads. Okay, so I did notice that. It's okay if you don't want to raise your hand. Okay, now let's discuss why this happened. Why was it that you were still tapping your nose, or in the first round, if you were still tapping or clapping your hands instead of snapping? Let's discuss why this happened. Why do you think this happened? Yes, Kefali.
Ma'am, actually, when you started giving the instructions, for our in our mindset, it's like a mission to follow the instruction. But when we saw you also doing the instruction, we thought that you are the teacher, you always gonna do right things only. So we stopped following the instruction. Means stop listening to them and started following you only. That's why we got wrong.
Okay. What about the others? Why do you think mistakes were made in following instructions? Yes,
Ma'am,
Kefali?
I wanted to say a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Ma'am, this order also works in like when we yawn. then the person who sees also feel like yawning.
Yeah, you're right. But that's a whole other thing about yawns being contagious and stuff. Alright. Um, okay. Anything else? Anyone else wants to take a guess as to why mistakes were made? Okay, let me put this out there, okay? You were supposed to make a mistake. The activity was designed to have you make a mistake on that last instruction. So don't feel bad that you made a mistake. It was supposed to happen, okay? So don't feel embarrassed or anything. So let's go back to talking about why you think that mistake happened. Okay, so Kepali has shared his inputs. Would anyone else like to share?
It sort of developed a pattern that we had to follow our actions, and at the last second it's like it threw us off like completely, like you are saying something and doing the other. So we had to like properly, like for a second it just, our mind just paused, and then we had to focus that yeah, it's our forehead, not our nose.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, think about life in general. How and when does this point apply? Like saying something, doing something else. Like, where do we normally see such kind of thing happening in real life?
Ma'am, can you repeat the question?
So, in real life, okay, where do we see such kind of thing happening where person is saying something, doing something else, and then that leads to mistakes and stuff?
Ma'am, actually, it's in our daily life because we know what is right for us, but still we follow the wrong things because we see others doing wrong things. We know it's harmful for us, but
Okay,
don't do.
okay, that's a good example. Anyone else? Okay, so let's come to communication skills, our subject. Where do you think this concept of spoken word and body language applies?
I think, ma'am, it is the very good example of to improve our listening skills.
Okay,
In
how?
communication, it is both like listening as well as studying. The so listening is also very important.
Okay,
So this applies on that thing that we should listen first, and then we should copy.
okay. Anyone else? Come on, guys. Where do you see such thing that someone's saying something but doing something else? Or what part of communication do you think this connects to?
That's all.
I guess that
Sorry? Glory, could you repeat that, please?
in the non-verbal.
Absolutely. Could you elaborate?
Like in that we don't speak, but we want to express something in people and communicate.
Gloria, your voice is breaking. Could you try again?
Yes. Hello, ma'am.
Yeah. It's not very clear, Gloria. Gloria, are you there? Yeah. Tell me.
So, ma'am, like in the non-verbal communication, we do speak, but then what we want to express is something else, and what people understand is something else. So that's a mistake.
Absolutely right. Okay, so this activity connects to our chapter on nonverbal skills, okay, and body language. So, what we need to keep in mind, like we've always been told time and again, that actions speak louder than words, okay? So, when we talk of actions, it's not just what somebody does, but it's also body language, okay? So, nonverbal skills will often convey a lot more than words can, okay, especially because you can manipulate your words, you can control what you're saying, you can choose not to say anything either, but your body, your nonverbal communication will often reveal a lot more, okay, and that's exactly why our friends and our family, people that we are close to, they're able to understand us even when we don't really say anything, okay. For example, something as simple as you being quiet when you're with people, okay, and if that's not how you are on a regular basis, people will wonder what happened because you're not usually this quiet, you know. Or if your behavior is altered in some way, if you're suddenly very excited, okay, or you're being very loud, or maybe you're sitting differently, right? People can tell what's going on. So human beings have evolved to read each other's bodies like that, okay? Even if we don't know, the dictionary definition of a particular uh, aspect of body language, people understand, it's like a gut feeling that we get, okay, it's deep in our minds, it's embedded, you know which is why children, okay, can identify that, the parents are not feeling well, or they're feeling sad or something like that. They may not be able to understand what happened exactly, but they do get a feeling that something's different, something's wrong, right? They may not understand that they have to be quiet and not trouble people at this time, but they do realize that something's different and something's wrong, you know? And that's how we are. People who we are very close to, okay, we can tell so much about them even if they're not telling us anything, okay? Same way, even if you're just walking on the street, you're out somewhere, and it may be a person you don't know, but if you look at them, you can figure out something about what's going on with them. A person just sitting quietly on the side of the road, perhaps. Okay, and if it's not a place people would normally sit in, something might be wrong, you know? Or you can tell that somebody is not feeling well, right? Or you can tell that someone's having a good day, someone's happy right now, okay? The same way, when you're out and you see people, you can sort of guess, whether they're friends, whether they're family, or whether they're a couple seeing each other, whatever. Because it's all part of body language. You don't need to be told in words, okay? You can just make that guess like that. And very often you'll be right, okay? So, sorry, whether you're telling people that you love them, or that you're very angry and upset with them, or you don't care about them, whatever it is, your body will reveal your thoughts, your moods, your attitude. Okay? If you remember phonemics, if you're keeping physical distance from somebody, okay, it's easy to understand that you don't like being in their presence. But if it's somebody you love, okay, you want to sit close to them, you know? Uh, so that kind of stuff. Or when we talk of phonemics, even if you care about someone, you make sure that you're on time when you have to meet them, that you're not wasting their time, you know? So things like that, like holding hands, giving someone a hug, okay, if it's your best friend or family or whoever, okay, or being comfortable around each other, right? Smiling at somebody or refusing to make eye contact or something. Just think about someone that you dislike, okay, and think about how you are in their presence. It's very easy to understand that somebody doesn't like me or someone actually likes me based on how they behave around you, you know. So they don't need to tell you that. Okay, you can figure that out just by their body language. Okay. So when we spoke of nonverbal skills, we spoke of how they are either conscious or subconscious. Okay, most often you do not realize, okay, these little nonverbal signs that you are revealing. Okay, which is, I mean, maybe you've seen it in movies or something. You have these people who can sort of understand whether the person is lying or not. In all these investigative movies or TV shows or books, even, you have psychologists who are always there with the investigator to figure out what's going on. Because that's how strong nonverbal communication is. It's very, very difficult to manipulate this. Even if you think you're controlling every part of your body, you're not, revealing things that you don't want to reveal. There is always something that gets revealed. Okay, they're often called micro expressions. They're not even easily visible, to us. Sometimes you need to use slow motion cameras to, um, identify these little micro expressions and non-verbal communications. Okay, and this brings us to the main point of exactly how important non-verbal communication is. Okay, um, like you have very often, miscommunication occurs because of this, because someone is saying something else, but their body language and in general their actions and behavior reveals something else. For example, somebody says that they want to meet you, they want to spend time with you, and they keep saying that over and over again, but they never actually make a plan to spend time with you. Or if a plan is made, then they find reasons to cancel it and all that. Like once or twice, these kinds of things happening is normal because, hey, life is unpredictable, right? But if it happens over and over again, eventually you'll understand that, this person doesn't actually want to spend time with me. Or something like one of your friends doesn't invite you to their house. Okay, so it shows exactly how much they trust you or how close they feel to you. They don't really want you in their houses, right? So actions and body language therefore are a very, very key concept, and in order for communication to be effective, we need to take into consideration all of these things. Okay, so remember the Moravian model that we studied. Words are only 7% of communication. Tone of voice is 38%, and the rest 55%. Sorry, not 55%. Um, Whatever the rest percent is, uh, all about your non-verbal skills, your body language, right? So that's that for the first activity. Does anyone have any doubts or questions about this one? Any doubts or questions? Okay. Um, just give me a second. Let me pull up the material for the second activity.
Ma'am, you are not audible.
Yeah, I muted myself. I'm unable to pull it. Just give me a second. Things are hanging for some reason.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, guys. I'll give you a 5 minute break. Let me just see why I'm not able to. Um, right. Just give me 5 minutes. You can take. Don't leave the meeting. Stay in the meeting. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And in the meantime, just get a piece of paper and a pen. Okay. Um, just keep that piece of pen and paper ready, and give me 5 minutes to just. I might need to restart this whole system. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Um, hey guys, can you hear me? Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am,
Yes,
you are
ma'am.
audible, but background noise is too much, ma'am.
Now?
Good, ma'am. It's good.
Okay. Um, some things happened and I don't know, the documents disappeared from my system. Uh, so what we're going to do is I'm going to continue with our regular lectures. Okay, we were doing effective writing. We will continue that, and in the 12:30 session, okay, when we have our regular class, we'll continue with the practicals. Okay, so by then I should be able to trawl through my system and find out what happened to the document. Okay, so let's go ahead with the regular session. Does anyone have any questions or concerns before we do that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, let me just share my screen with you. Okay, so yesterday we looked at effective writing, the part of diction, okay, where we said that style depends on diction, sentences, and paragraphs, right? So, yesterday we are done with the words part. Today we will look at effective sentences, okay? Does anyone have any idea what it means to write effective sentences? Sorry, did someone say something?
It should mean something.
Okay, can you elaborate on that?
Ma'am, like a sentence is said to be the group of words that make a sense.
Hmm.
So, any group of word cannot be a sentence, but the combination of words that make meaning, it's called a sentence. So, effective sentence are the collection of group of words that make a meaning, proper
Okay,
meaning.
very good. So that's definitely one important part of an effective sentence. Let's look at the other. Okay, so like you said, when words are arranged properly into sentences, they make better sense. So it's not just a random group of words, but there's a particular way to arrange them. Okay, so maybe in school you've learned about the pattern which starts with a subject, okay, a verb, and the predicate, right? So that is the standard um, arrangement of words in the English language, okay? But it's not just that, that's just the grammatically correct sentence, okay? For sentences to be effective, okay, they need to be coherent, okay? They need to highlight the most important part, okay, or rather lay emphasis on the correct part of the sentence. So the point that you want to make in that sentence, the message you want to convey, that should be highlighted. Okay, and to do that, you need to arrange your words in a particular fashion. Okay, sentences should also be of appropriate length. Okay, a sentence that is extremely long, okay, will often stop making sense beyond a certain point. So even if it is grammatically correct, the fact that it is that long, okay, will make it very difficult for you to understand. Okay, so let's begin with the discussion of coherence. What do you think coherence means, or what do you think it means, or take a random guess about it? What do you think the word coherence means? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry, let's look at it. Um, Coherence means that there is a smooth flow of words, of ideas, okay, of concepts and of facts. So you don't just randomly group together these points. Okay, they have to flow smoothly. There needs to be a logical connection. Okay. For example, suppose you're watching a movie, okay, and it starts off, but nothing's making sense, and something else comes in between, and you're like, what's going on? Where does this fit in? Okay, so they need to flow properly from the beginning to the end. Okay, so that logical flow, that systematic arrangement, okay, is called coherence. It's also called unity. Okay, so when you're writing sentences, it refers to putting points together that have something in common. So everything that's talking about the same thing, okay, or they are directly related together, you have to put them together. Okay, then you have to form the correct sequence with the sentences. Okay, so sentence 1 has to make sense with sentence 2, sentence 2 has to make sense with sentence 3. You cannot put 1 and then 5 and then 10 and then go back to a 7, right? So it needs to go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that. So let's look at a couple of examples. Okay, look at this sentence. The machine requires less electricity and is easy to operate, but it is extremely noisy. Also, it is bulky. Okay? Take a couple of seconds and tell me what is wrong with this sentence.
Order the sentence.
Okay, how?
Ma'am, the word that joins two sentences is missing here, ma'am. Before also.
Okay. What is missing? Could you try and.
And ma'am is missing. The machine requires less electricity and it is easy to operate, but it is extremely noisy, and also it is bulky. And also it is bulky, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Um, right. So why don't you guys take a couple of seconds and try and rewrite. Okay, Bhavya, your hand just went up. Yes.
Ma'am, I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but according to me, it should be the machine requires less electricity, comma, is easy to operate, but is extremely noisy and bulky.
Okay, very nice. All right. Anyone else? Okay. So why don't you guys take a few seconds, use the chat box, and rewrite the sentence in a way you feel is the correct way to write it. Okay, we know that the way it is on the screen right now is wrong. Okay, so let's talk about how we can make it right. All right, and then I'll show you uh, a couple of options that we have. Okay, so take a few seconds and write down your responses in the chat box. Okay, so 2 responses have come in. Anyone else? Okay, good. I'll give you a few more seconds. Do try and send in your answers. Okay, so let's look at our options here. Okay, here is one correct option. The machine requires less electricity and is easy to operate, full stop, but it is noisy and bulky. Okay, and the second option is, though the machine requires less electricity and is easy to operate, it is noisy and bulky. Okay, also some of the answers that you guys have typed into the chat box are also right. Okay, so the point here is that in the first half of the sentence we are talking about the good parts of the machine. Okay, that it is easy to operate and it needs less electricity. Okay, the second half talks about the fact that it's noisy and bulky, but the original sentence is divided into two parts. The original is divided into two sentences where one bad feature is mixed in with two of the good features. So there is a need to separate these two so that the sentence flows logically and is connected to the other bad aspect that's mentioned. Right? So we could do that by splitting the sentences into two parts where one sentence talks about the good and the other talks about the bad. Okay, or we can use connecting words like but, however, okay, stuff that you guys have also written down. Right? So you get the idea about how sentences, in order to be coherent, to have unity, should flow smoothly. Okay, so similar points need to be put together. Okay. Next, we talk about emphasis. Okay, in order to be effective, the sentence needs to highlight the most important part. Okay, so if you're talking about a certain point, okay, that point needs to be highlighted in the sentence or the effect is lost. A person may miss the message altogether. Okay, therefore, the most important part of the sentence has to be placed either in the beginning of the sentence or at the end of the sentence. Okay, these two are the most prominent parts of a sentence. A person naturally pays attention more to the beginning and to the end. Okay, so to do this, to place the important details at the beginning or the end. Okay, there are a few ways to do this. Let's look at them. Okay, let's look at this sentence. He emerged from the accident unharmed, remarkably. Okay, would someone like to guess which is the part that needs to be highlighted in this sentence?
Unharmed.
Okay, anything else? Okay, you're right. So we need to highlight the fact that he came unharmed from the accident. Okay, but the fact that the word remarkably comes after unharmed, okay, the effect of this word is lost. So we can put this something like this. Remarkably, he emerged from the accident unharmed. Okay, because the fact that he had an accident but did not get harmed is also important, right? Therefore, the word remarkably, okay, is placed at the beginning of the sentence. So even that fact the part that he is, uh, sorry, the part that it is remarkable, okay, that he emerged unharmed is also highlighted. So remarkably, he emerged from the accident unharmed, right? So the beginning and the end of the sentence both have important parts at them, okay? Now look at this sentence. He was only afraid of spiders. What is the part that is to be highlighted here, and how can we do that?
Only, ma'am.
Okay.
He was afraid of spiders only.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Same.
Anyway, any other way in which you can put this? Okay, let's look at it. He was only afraid of one thing: spiders. Okay, this is the way in which you can place the most emphasis. Okay, what's happening here is you're pointing out that he only has one fear, okay, that is spiders. So you are highlighting spiders by putting it at the end of the sentence and separating it from the rest of the sentence by using a hyphen, right? So that's another way that you can place emphasis. Use hyphens. Otherwise, you can do is put a colon. Okay. Now let's look at this last one. Finish it by 5 p.m. on Monday, as Tuesday is the deadline. How can you make this better? How can you highlight what's important here?
Ma'am, we can remove as and write there because we finish it by 5 p.m. on Monday because Tuesday is a deadline.
Okay, but as and because have the same function.
Tuesday is the deadline, so finish it by 5 p.m. on Monday.
Absolutely. Very good. Okay, so you highlight the deadline by putting it at the front of the sentence. Like the deadline is Tuesday, so finish it by 5 p.m. on Monday. So you're highlighting the fact that the deadline is Tuesday. You're also highlighting the fact that this is when you need to finish the work. That's 5 p.m. on Monday. So you use the beginning and the end to put both the important points in highlighted positions. Okay, any questions over here? All right, I will take that as a no.
No, ma'am, all good.
Okay, so here is something that uh, I found like a very good real life example of laying emphasis. Okay, this is the opening line of Jane Austen's novel Pride and Prejudice. Okay, and in this sentence, okay, there are two important points. One, the fact that it is a universally acknowledged truth, and two, that the man must be in want of a wife. Okay, so in the beginning, imagine a novel that begins with this very powerful statement: it is a truth universally acknowledged. You're like putting so much weight on the word truth and saying it's universally acknowledged, right? So a powerful line like this at the beginning of a novel is going to make sure that somebody reads the whole novel. Okay, and look at how the sentence ends: must be in want of a wife. You're saying that this is exactly how it has to be, and there's no other option for the poor guy. Okay, he cannot not want to get married at all, right? And then the other importance of this statement is that throughout the novel, it is being proved to you that it's not the man who is wanting a wife, but it's the woman who's in want of a husband. you know so I found this like the perfect example of laying emphasis both within the sentence and in a larger body of work. So the highlight remains on truth, and the highlight remains on the word must be in want of a wife. Okay, so that's how important placements and emphasis have. Okay, so now let's go to appropriate length. Let's discuss a little personally here. How do you feel reading long sentences, or what kind of stuff do you find easy to read? Yeah, suppose you've been reading stuff. What do you find easy to read? What do you find difficult to read?
Ma'am, according to me, it easy to read the that day you told na that to use simple words
Mhm.
and keep the sentence up to the point, ma'am. We should not expand the sentence for just making the line lengthy.
Mhm.
We should only cover our point, and that's it
Okay.
in short words.
Okay. Anyone else? How has your experience been reading books and stories? Do you find that some authors are easy to read, some are not? Okay. So let's talk about appropriate length. Okay. For a sentence to be effective, they need to be short and simple. Okay. It's it's a commonly understood fact that in the English language, the shortest sentence is two words: I am. Okay, and it packs a lot of meaning into those two words, like I exist. Okay, and that brings in so much of importance, like I am alive, I have feelings, I am healthy. All of those things. And it is grammatically correct. Just those two words, I am. You know, and and you see that because it's just two words, that much emphasis gets laid on that, right? So effective sentences are short and they are simple. Okay, now studies have shown that in a typical professional writer's work, okay, effective sentences are usually in the low 20s. So the number of words in a sentence that is effective is usually under 25. All right, and in general, the average length of a sentence is 15 to 20 words. Sentences beyond this word limit tend to either become grammatically incorrect or cause confusion. Alright? So it's important to remember to use shorter sentences, but it's even more important to keep in mind that sentences should be of varying lengths. Just because the average sentence length says 15 to 20 doesn't mean that you count the number of words in every sentence and only use 15 to 20 words. That is going to create problems, and I'll show you in a minute how that happens. Right? So, when you write a paragraph, when you write anything basically, you need to vary the length of sentences. So, some sentences will be short, some sentences will be long. Alright?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, just because a sentence is grammatically correct does not mean that it is easy or effective. So even a short sentence can sometimes be unhelpful because it may have either grammatical errors or it does not completely express what it's supposed to express. So definitely there are times when a long sentence is needed to make the correct impact. Alright? So if there is no choice, or if you feel that the longer sentence is going to make much better sense, don't be shy. Okay? But in general, try not to write an essay for a sentence. Okay? So here are two paragraphs on your screen. I'll give you a minute or two to read these two paragraphs, and then tell me which paragraph you felt is most effective. Okay, read the two paragraphs and tell me which one has a better impact on you.
Second one. Second one, ma'am.
Okay, can you tell me why?
Ma'am, in the first one, it is used too much of pronoun, ma'am.
Too much of pronouns. How?
In every sentence of in beginning of every sentence, it is used I,
Okay. What else?
and also, ma'am, second one is also very attractive because it is used as a conjunction also. It is also very important in sentence.
Okay, very good. Anyone else wants to add something?
I'm in second one. The paragraphs are the sentences are
The sentences are
like it was yeah. I have an apartment and wonderful view. Study second one from my apartment.
okay. Okay, good. What else?
That's all, ma'am.
Okay, let's look at this again. So, in the first sentence, if you see, in the first paragraph, each sentence is following the standard pattern of sentences: subject, verb, predicate. And every sentence follows the exact same formula. So, what is happening is that it's becoming boring. Okay, so I love living in the country. I have a wonderful view of the countryside. I have an apartment. I can see that. Oh my god, stop. Right? So, each sentence, if you pick it up and separate it from the others, and each sentence makes good sense, each sentence is grammatically correct, each sentence is of an acceptable length, but when you put them all together, it becomes boring, and somewhere halfway down the paragraph you're going to stop reading or you're going to stop paying attention because it's no longer interesting, right? But if you look at the second paragraph, okay, they are combining a couple of the ideas, okay, they are creating complex sentences or compound sentences. Okay, each line is of a different length, but it is also grammatically correct. Okay, so it's not following the same standard formula throughout. Okay, so the patterns of each sentence are also different, and that is how, when you put them all together, it becomes more interesting to read. Okay, and the correct emphasis can be laid. Okay, so now let's look at this other paragraph. Okay, take a minute to read this and then we will discuss. Okay, what's your input about this one?
Ma'am, I want to ask a thing.
Yeah.
Ma'am, in the seventh line, ma'am, it is written that sentence of medium length, and then full stop. Then it is started a new statement, and sometimes when and sometimes when. But when and is used, why we need a full stop?
Okay.
Ma'am,
Could
I'm
you
asking.
explain what effect? Sorry.
Ma'am, I'm asking that.
Um. Okay. Could you repeat that? I'm not sure I understood what you're seeking.
Ma'am, in the seventh line, it is written
Could
from
you?
in the starting
Sorry. Go ahead.
sentence a sentence of medium length, then full stop, and then and sometimes.
So.
So and is a conjunction. It joins two sentences.
Hmm.
So why there is a full stop after length?
Okay. Because it's again emphasis. Okay. So in the first, um, before that it says, and I use sentences of medium length. Okay. So what you're doing is you are separating to lay emphasis. I mean, earlier there was definitely a rule which said that you cannot start a sentence with a conjunction, but these days we realize that if it is grammatically correct, you can definitely start a sentence with and, okay, or even but, okay, or because. All of these words were not allowed, okay, as sentence starters, but now things are different. And
So it is,
when
ma'am,
you
grammatically right if we use it
in
now.
this yeah, you can, as long as the rules of grammar are not broken, like the sentence makes perfect sense, you can definitely start a sentence with and or because or but, all of these things. Even still, these are conjunctions, but when you use them in the beginning of a sentence, okay, it lays emphasis on what comes exactly after that. So and sometimes, okay, and then there's a pause. So you're talking about how this is not normal, but sometimes it does make sense. So sometimes using such a long sentence is okay. Okay, so sometimes I use short sentences, sometimes I use longer ones, and sometimes, okay, when I'm sure that the reader is rested, I will engage him. So you see, it's a way to lay emphasis. There are definitely ways in which you can use a conjunction at the beginning of a sentence and the rest of the sentence doesn't make sense. That's okay, as long as in connection with the sentence that comes before and after it, you can use and. So if it's adding to the flow, if it's adding emphasis, you can do that. So you cannot start a sentence with a conjunction if the sentence is the first sentence of a paragraph. There it won't make sense. But somewhere like this, when it's adding to what was said before, you can do that. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sorry, ma'am.
No, if you didn't get it, tell me.
No, ma'am, I got it.
Okay. So what did you guys feel after reading this paragraph?
Too much use of sentences when not needed.
Sorry?
Too much use of sentences when not needed. They can even have joined two sentences.
Absolutely. Okay, so similar to the first example, okay, following the formula of a sentence, okay, having grammatically correct sentences is not everything. For all the sentences put together to make sense, to have the right effect on the reader, to keep the reader engaged and interested, okay, you need to vary the length of sentences. And okay, just keeping eye on the grammar is not enough. Okay, so you see here, the writer starts by talking in 5-word sentences all the way till the ear demands some variety. Then he mixes it up, 2 words, okay, and little more, then 1 word, then 3 words. Okay, so mixing up the length, and in the end he uses a very long sentence. Okay, so length of the sentence is also important. When you're talking about a complicated idea, try to use shorter sentences, break up the points, right? But in a place where you feel it's okay, where it will not cause any issue, you can definitely club a couple of points together as long as the points are interconnected. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
so here is a list of a few tips that you can use to create effective sentences. Okay, avoid putting 2 or more unrelated thoughts. So about unity, okay, sentences should have the same point, okay, and the paragraph also should talk about the same topic. Okay, next, keep related parts of the sentences together. So like we saw in the previous example, where the good parts and the bad parts are separated into 2 separate sentences, or are appropriately divided with a conjunction or something. Okay, then each sentence contains a single idea. That's the ideal, but in some cases we can combine them as long as we put them properly. Okay, um, don't break up ideas into very short sentences. That's called fragmentation. Okay, club them so that they're not too short and that they don't stick out awkwardly. Okay, make sure that sentences are flowing smoothly from one to the other. Okay, and don't use unnecessary words, right? This is of course in connection to business communication, where we spoke about not using qualifiers or intensifiers, words like generally, sometimes, rarely, very, extremely, all of those unnecessary words. Okay, uh, then arrange them in a way that the main point of the sentence gets highlighted. Okay, and the biggest idea, okay, the main part of the paragraph gets put in a separate sentence, sorry, which is short and direct. Okay, and like Kefali mentioned, use conjunctions, prepositions, and adverbs. Okay, this will help to transition from one to another, from one idea to another. Okay, and of course avoid sentences that are extremely long. Okay, even a lengthy sentence should be comfortable to read, so that people are not getting lost in the sentence, so that the main point is not getting missed out, right? So unless you're not doing that, it's okay to use a bit of a long sentence every now and again, but in general, stick to sentences of comfortable length. They shouldn't be so short that it becomes awkward and incomplete, right? And nor should it be so long that you forget what you're already talking about, right? And um, with that, I just had a bit of extra information to give. The longest sentence in the English language is about 13,000 something words. Okay, that is like 50 pages, almost 40 to 50 pages. Okay, if you type it out, that's how long it becomes. I forgot um, who's the author of that. It's part of a novel. Uh, I'll look it up and I'll tell you, but I remember reading that. The longest sentence in the English language is 13,000 something words. And obviously I'm like, that is my entire master's thesis. Okay, I had to write a master's research thesis of 15,000 words. Okay, and I'm like, I could have written it in a single sentence. Why did I bother breaking it up into paragraphs and chapters like that? You know? So that was that. And In fact, there's a link I remember coming across, which is actually giving you these long sentences. I'll show it to you. Okay, I'll put it up on the group. So that's that for sentences. Does anyone have any questions here?
Ma'am, can I ask the question out of the box, ma'am? Like out
Okay,
of a subject.
sure.
Ma'am, what is the meaning of irony? Because I googled it, I couldn't understand the means I understood the Google one, but in when I saw someone using it, it didn't make the sense there, but it was right. It was in the
Okay.
series or
Ma'am, even I have the doubt with this word irony. Means it's a figure of speech, but I didn't understand it.
Okay. So it's actually two different things. Okay, irony as a figure of speech is different from irony as a word meaning. Okay. Two different functions, two different applications altogether. So when you talk of irony in general, okay, it uh, there's two ways to put this. Okay, and I'll give you the example that my teacher gave, and that's the only way I understood what irony means. Okay, so once upon a time there was a woman who was fed up of her husband. So one fine day she created a big feast for him, and she poisoned all the food. Okay, she made everything that he loves to eat, and she poisoned it. And then when the man came back from work and he saw this big beautiful feast laying and waiting for him on the table, he looks at his wife and says, "Darling, you're going to kill me tonight." Okay, and that is irony. Okay, he uses the word "kill me tonight," okay, in the sense that, kill me with happiness, or it's going to be too much to handle, okay, or along those lines. But the truth is, she is literally going to kill him. Okay, she's actually going to do it, but he doesn't know that. She knows it, we know it, but the man doesn't. And there is the irony. Okay, where somebody says something without realizing the actual truth of the situation. Okay, so is this was the one way I finally understood what irony means. Okay, so you say something or you do something, and you don't know, or you're not able to connect with the reality of the situation, and that makes the whole thing ironic. Okay. um Another example of irony, okay, is that um, your eyelashes are supposed to protect your eyes from things going inside them. Okay, but a lot of times when there is something in your eye, it is usually an eyelash, right? That is ironic. Okay, because this something that is supposed to prevent it from happening is actually creating the problem by itself, right? So when you use irony like that, this is what it means, and it's different from using irony as a figure of speech. Okay, unfortunately I don't have material with me right now where I can explain irony, but perhaps in tomorrow's session or something, if you want, we can take a few minutes and go over this. But irony as a figure of speech is where irony is used in poetry to a certain effect, and I don't have material to explain that right now, but I can gather that, and maybe tomorrow or something we can discuss this. Did that make sense to you?
yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. We got the idea a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. There are different forms of irony also, and it takes time to understand the concept actually. Um, but yeah. Oh,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
another example for basic irony in everyday life that I can give is um, this the Shakespeare play Othello. Okay, um, where uh, what's happening is Othello, okay, has a general called Iago, and Iago is trying to create problems in Othello's life. So he tricks Othello into believing his wife is cheating on him, okay? And Othello is sort of literally driven crazy by that. And spoiler alert, he ends up killing his wife and then kills himself. So all of this is irony for us. It's not irony for the people in the story, okay? Because they only have half the information. But for us, it is irony because we know what's going on, but they don't know what's going on, right? So, like that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Right. If you still need help on this, I can share some material that I have, but it's not on me right now. I can pull it
Ma'am,
out of
you
my.
can share it on the group when you got it.
Sure, sure. I'll dig up my old notes and I can share this with you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Oh. Pride and Prejudice also has um, irony. I'll send you stuff on that. Okay. Any other questions in general or related to this?
No, ma'am. All good.
Okay, so it's 10:30 on my watch, and we have time till 11:20. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll give you another 5 minutes, and then we'll go on to talking about defective paragraphs. Okay, don't leave the meeting. You can just take a 5 minute break, walk around, drink some water, and come back. Okay, everyone back? Guys, are you guys back? Alright, great. So let's continue. We are now moving on to effective paragraphs. Okay. As we've spoken of before, a paragraph is a group of sentences and it typically deals with a single unit of thought or it focuses on one main idea or concept, right? And a well structured paragraph, okay, a paragraph where the idea, the concept is properly developed. This is very important to communicate effectively because otherwise messages will be lost, okay, things will be difficult to understand and we may come up with miscommunications, okay. So when we talk of paragraphs in general, they help us understand where one topic begins and where another ends. Okay, so all the information that we want to share with them, it comes out in a properly organized manner. Okay, and it becomes easier to understand. So if one topic is not being clear, you can go directly to that paragraph instead of having to read multiple paragraphs to get to the point. Okay, and that's why it's important for us to divide our work into paragraphs, whatever we are writing, whether it's an essay, a letter, an email, whatever, right? And for a paragraph to be effective, there are four important aspects we need to keep in mind. Okay, that is the topic sentence, coherence, unity, and adequate development. All right, so we're going to look at each of these points in detail. Let's start with the topic sentence. The topic sentence is the first, usually the first line in the paragraph. Sometimes it can also come at the end, but typically it is the first sentence. And what it does is it tells you what that particular paragraph is about. What is the main point or the main idea being expressed in that paragraph? Okay, it is also called the key sentence or the theme sentence, right? And the rest of the paragraph is basically an explanation, an elaboration, or an illustration of this topic sentence, right? So, like I said, the typical position of it is at the beginning of the sentence, but in some cases it can also come at the end. Okay, sorry, it's paragraph, not sentence. Okay, and here is an example. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds to read this and then you can tell me what the topic sentence is and how it's connecting to the rest of the paragraph. Okay, would someone like to read this aloud? Who would like to read this aloud, guys? Okay, Ajil, would you like to read this aloud? Ajil, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead and read this, please.
In order to minimize conflicts and increase efficiency, work must be divided equitably among team members. Overburdening one individual will quickly lead to resentment and conflict. In addition, when assigning tasks to various team members, the team must consider not only the quantity of work to be undertaken by an individual, but also the nature of the work. For example, editing a document is rarely as interesting as drafting it. If someone is consistently assigned the task of editing, he or she is liable to become bored and thus ineffective. Where feasible, team members should rotate through both the less challenging and more interesting tasks.
Okay, So, what's the topic sentence here? And do you feel that the paragraph is adequately elaborating on the topic sentence? Take a guess. Any guesses? What do you think is the topic sentence here? Come on, guys, think and tell me. It's not that difficult.
Teamwork.
Sorry?
Ma'am, are you asking the topic of the paragraph?
Yeah, I'm asking you to identify the topic sentence in this paragraph.
Ma'am, is it the second sentence? Overburdening.
No, but you're close by. Okay, let's look at the answer. It is this one. Okay, the entire paragraph talks about efficiency and how it gets, affected by monotonous tasks or the quantity of work. Okay, so it talks about dividing the work equitably among team members, and the last sentence, okay, that concluding part, also repeats that. Okay, so wherever possible, you should be rotating the tasks among the people. All right. Now here is an example where the topic sentence comes at the end. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds to read this, and I'm sure you'll understand how that works out. Okay. Um, any questions? Have you understood how the topic sentence works? Guys, any questions? Guys, am I audible? Am I audible? Any questions? Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. So let's go ahead to the coherence of a sentence. Okay. As we've spoken of before, sentences should be linked together, okay, and they should flow smoothly from one to the other, okay. And in order to do this, there are different ways in which you can create transitions, okay. So you can use pronouns, you can use transitional tags, okay, or you can repeat keywords or phrases. You can use parallel grammatical structures, okay. So here's an example of using pronouns, right? um Aishwarya, can you read this aloud? Aishwarya Thomas. Aishwarya, are you there? Aishwarya, guys, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
So can people respond when I'm asking something?
Ma'am, shall I read it?
Sure, go ahead.
Copying machine operators are responsible for keeping their machines in good working condition. If they detect any problem, they must notify their supervisor immediately. The supervisor will inspect the machine and determine whether they can continue to use it.
Okay, thank you. So you see, you are not repeating the word copy machine operators again and again. In fact, you're connecting ideas and concepts by using there and they. Okay, so that's one way in which you can use the pronouns. Okay, and here's an example of transitional tags. Okay, this is one paragraph. Go ahead and read it on your own. I'll give you a few seconds and then I'll show you how this can be made better. Okay, so you see in the second paragraph, just adding the phrase for instance makes the entire paragraph much more smoother to read. Okay, otherwise it becomes difficult. It takes you time to realize that okay, we have gone from talking about the point to having an example. Okay, so like that. Let's go ahead to repetition of keywords and phrases. You can take another few seconds here and you can see how the concept of ego strength is repeated multiple times. Those words are repeated multiple times so that the idea stays in your mind and therefore the paragraph becomes more effective. Okay, next we have parallel. Sorry. Okay, next we have parallel grammatical structure. What this essentially means is that when you're talking about the same idea, okay, you have to make sure that the entire sentence follows the same pattern. Okay, so for example, this sentence here, okay, even the best communicators learn as much as possible about their listeners and tailor their remarks to their interests, attitudes, and what their values are. If you look at this last part of the sentence, it's written differently compared to the earlier part, okay? Interests and attitudes. It's you need to follow the same pattern. If you're just putting commas, okay, then suddenly don't phrase it. You could, in fact, if you wanted to use this style of what their values are, then every other thing in that sentence had to be written in the same style. So you could be like, and tailor their remarks to what their interests are, what their attitudes are, and what their values are. So you have to follow the same style. Okay, look at this example now, the parallel example. Okay, now everything looks uniform. The same pattern, the same style is followed. Okay, any questions over here? Guys, any questions? Can you please say yes or no?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, let's go ahead to the concept of unity. Okay, this in a paragraph, unity means how well or to or the degree to which all the ideas are hanging together, how well they are sitting together with each other. Okay, so even if a paragraph is following the rule of talking about one single point or idea, sometimes the way in which it is written does not give it that smooth feeling. Okay, so the ideas are not sitting together properly. Okay, and this also leads to the other point that anytime there's a shift in the idea, anytime there's a change, okay, then you need to start a new paragraph. It doesn't matter if your paragraph is literally just 2 sentences long, it's okay. As soon as there's a shift in the topic or the main idea or something, start a new paragraph. All right, so for example, if you're talking about, say, methods of uh, cooking, for example, all right, so because you start off by saying that there are various different methods to cook something, okay, and then you start off by discussing one particular method, and now you want to talk about another method. Even though both of these methods fall under the category of various methods of cooking, which was your topic sentence, okay, the discussion is a different topic altogether. So you start a new paragraph there. Okay, so here I'll give you an example. Okay, um, who would like to read this aloud? Kajal, would you like to read this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go
Note
ahead.
that two main ideas are presented in this paragraph. The topic sentence
Kajal, you have to
indicates
read the paragraph.
from employees.
Yeah, employees' attitudes, yes.
Employees' attitudes at National Electric Company should be improved. The workers do not feel that they are a working team instead of just individuals. If people felt they were a part of team, they would not misuse the tools or deliberately under undermine the work of others. Management's attitude towards its employees should also be improved. Managers at National Electric acts as though their employees are incapable of taking decisions or doing their own work. Managers treat workers like objects, not human beings. Note that two main, ma'am, till this much only, or I should continue.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. So if you see, this paragraph is divided into two parts. One is the employees and one is the attitude. While the main idea of attitude is correct. Okay, therefore, technically speaking, these 2 points of employees' attitudes and managers' attitudes fall together. This paragraph itself doesn't have a smooth flow. Okay, and therefore, it would be right to divide this further into 2 paragraphs. One where you talk about employees' attitudes, and then you talk about management attitude. Okay, and finally, we talk about adequate development. This means that whatever topic sentence you have, the paragraph should build on that, and there should be sufficient material added. There should be sufficient development, okay, for the paragraph to be effective. Okay, otherwise you are left with questions, you feel confused, you feel like you haven't got enough information. Okay, so while you're writing a paragraph, technically about 4 sentences makes it an adequate paragraph. Okay, this applies typically to business communication, professional communication, but when you're writing artistically, a paragraph can be just even a single sentence by itself. Right? So let's look at um, a few ways to develop paragraphs. Okay, you can build on the main idea by giving an example or providing some samples, or you can demonstrate something, you can give a reference of some kind. You can classify uh, the information if you need to. Okay, so you can have divisions and categories and stuff, or you can provide a list like bullet points. Okay, or you can draw comparisons and contrast 2 or 3 different things. Okay, so for example, going back to the example of cooking, all right, if you're talking about 2 different ways to cook something, you can compare and contrast. Okay, um, or you can talk about cause and effect. So something happened and then you discuss why that happened. All right, or you can state that there's a problem and then you provide a solution, or you discuss that problem further, or you can explain something like you're giving a definition of some kind. Okay, you can also have a process description, like you're telling somebody how to do something, you're describing the process of doing something. All right, and here is an example of an inadequately developed paragraph. Okay, the topics of leadership and management are both similar to and different from one another in several important ways. To be effective, a manager should be a good leader, and good leaders know how to manage people effectively. Okay, so you see over here, they begin the paragraph by mentioning that there are several important ways, but the rest of the paragraph is not telling me what those several important ways are. It's just giving one way, and that is sort of redundant. Okay, a manager should be a good leader, and a good leader manages people properly. Like, it's just a roundabout sentence. It's not explaining how to be a good leader. It's not talking about how you can manage people effectively, and you're definitely not giving different ways, multiple ways to do this, right? And therefore this paragraph is underdeveloped and ineffective, right? Because not enough information is shared, and it's leaving the reader with a lot of questions and concerns and doubts. All right, and with that we are done with effective paragraphs. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Guys, do you have any questions or concerns?
No, ma'am.
All right, great. So we'll stop here for now, and then we'll meet again at 12:40, where we will continue this. Sorry, we're not continuing this. I will look for that document, which for some reason is not visible on my device anymore. I'll have to take it up from somewhere else. Okay. So at 12:40, if I have not found that document, we will continue with this third unit of report writing. Otherwise, we will have the last I mean, the second practical activity. Okay, so thank you guys for coming in. I will see you at 12:40.